Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Madroit Podcast, where it is our job to deliver short podcasts with marketing and sales insights that can help you level up your business. So again, for those who are not in marketing all day, every day, here's what you'll get. It's our job to give you actionable marketing and business nuggets that take the mystery out of marketing to help you achieve growth that will be for sure to help you level up and win. Today, our topic is about storytelling and emotion and why they are important for marketing. So to kick us off, what are we talking about here with storytelling?
Yeah, like you said, storytelling is about narratives. It creates a deeper emotional connection with your audience, making your product, your brand, or service more relatable and memorable.
Yeah, I think when I think about storytelling, humans really just in general are wired for stories, right? From the earliest days of sitting around campfires or like even back to things like the Bible and fables and things like that. They're all stories. And it's generate how we've interpreted and made sense of the world. When you tell a good story about your product, your service, you're not just sharing overall information about it, right? You're creating an experience for your customers that you want them to feel about your brand.
Think about the brands you love. Chances are there's a story behind them that resonates with you, whether it's about overcoming challenges or creating something meaningful or making a difference in the world. These stories evoke emotions, and emotions ultimately drive decisions.
I think when we talk about this, so how do you create stories that connect with your audience? What's the first thing that you would start off with?
I mean, starting by knowing your customer, right? Your audience, what their struggles are, their aspirations, what their goals are. When you understand their journey, you can position your product and service to be a part of that story.
I think another way, just to go off of that, is customer success stories. These are like your real world, say that 2 times fast, your real world testimonials brought to life, right? They share how your product or service has helped solve a problem or made someone's life better or made something easier or taken some stress away from a situation. Like, for example, if you run a landscaping business, you talk about a customer who finally got their dream backyard thanks to your team and the work that they did. Maybe they could host some big family party or reunion that they'd been hoping and dreaming that they could for years. But that story now, or that dream of theirs, became a reality and became very tangible because of your business. So when now the thing that everybody loves to talk about, let's talk about emotions, right? Let's talk about our feelings. A lot of times we hear in marketing and sales sometimes as well, people don't buy products, they buy feelings. What does that mean to you? And can you take us through what you think about that?
Yeah. So people buy the emotion, right? Like the mind is made up, whether someone wants to buy something or not, even for a service, right? Which you would think it should be the most pragmatic thing you could buy, service to help your business. But it is still emotion, and people ultimately like have a gut feeling of whether they should work with you or not, or if what you're saying makes sense, or the story lines up, or if you're the right company for them. But products, especially, like they buy a feeling, like the aftermath of drinking a Coca-Cola, right? Like, how do you feel? Caffeine's a drug. Like, I'd love to sell caffeine. Sell the feeling of like being energetic and happy because you're energetic, right?
Yeah, I think when I think about emotion, one thing that comes to mind is like the Nike "Just Do It" campaign. It's not about shoes. In a lot of ways, it's not about the clothes, the gear, whatever. It's about perseverance, achieving greatness is what they try to convey. And the emotion that Nike is looking to sell in that moment is empowerment. They want you to feel empowered, and they want you to feel empowered because you're wearing Nike. So that's one way, obviously, on a grand scale. That's how Nike has gone about doing it. But I think to create your own emotionally compelling campaigns and thinking about the feeling that you want to inspire or make your audience feel, like not every campaign has to be this great, inspiring, moving thing, but your campaigns should convey how you want your audience to feel, and you should have a goal for how you want them to feel as a result when you're crafting your messaging, when you're generating your visuals, and even just, the tone of voice that you're using. all of that should be designed to evoke a specific emotion. So one of the things that can factor into that emotion is where you're posting it, where you're putting it out there, what platforms you're using. Where do you think are some of the most appropriate platforms for people to take on storytelling?
Yeah. I mean, posting it for sure, right? Like social media platforms, wherever you think your audience is, right? And we've talked about that in previous podcasts for, what social media platforms you should be on. But social media for sure, your website, hands down, right? Like the foundation of your marketing should be told there. YouTube, if you do video content, which at this point, like I'd hope plenty do, it's not necessarily fit for everyone, but for most, a good video would be really important and helpful. YouTube videos, podcasts are great like this, right? Like people get to hear the stories and kind of the before and after of services we provide for clients and success stories. Like even the podcast episode we did about the history of Madroit marketing, right? And kind of like how we got into it. Got a lot of good feedback from people about that, just getting to understand who we are and why we do the things we do. And yeah.
Podcast is an interesting one, especially this day and age. Like I hear from folks every now and again, sure, we could do video, but I don't want to be on camera. That's fine. You don't have to be on camera if you can do a podcast. Or, man, I don't like to hear the sound of my own voice is another thing that we hear. That's fine. Do a blog. So there's different avenues for you to tell these stories and to generate these campaigns. A lot of times just finding out what the most appropriate platform is for you and for your business is, I think, a discovery session in and of itself. Because you have to feel good about where you're posting, how you're doing it, and ultimately how your business is being represented as a result of it.
That said, I don't love my voice, but I talk to people all the time. And if they hear me and hear you on a podcast, right, and then meet us, like it's that they already know who we are. They're familiar with some of the story. It makes it that much easier to connect and for us to connect with them. And they already feel connected to us, which is amazing. So like the people that skeptical about posting because they don't like their voice or they don't feel like they have a story to tell, like you have a story. The story you're telling people day to day in conversation, like those are the stories to tell, right? It's just capturing that and posting it in a place that is advantageous for you as a business to do so.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there, because I talk to so many businesses that have such a cool story, whether it be how they came through tough times, whether it's how they started off or where they went, or some really cool opportunity that they had to be involved with the community, or even on a grander scale, like how ways that they got involved. And I just sit there thinking to myself, man, I wish I could just capture this and just share it with everybody, because it's so amazing the work that you're doing. But oftentimes, especially for small businesses, you're so busy actually running the business that you can't take yourself back and take the time to share that story and make it measure and do it in a scalable way so that it can reach the tens, the hundreds, the thousands of people that you want it to. So I think that's an increased level of importance on this. So I think even as we look at some of the campaigns that, in my opinion, have done it really well, some of the larger ones too, right? Like we've talked about Coca-Cola multiple times.
Yeah. Who else do you think, campaign wise?
Man, for me, one of the ones that I really liked is Patagonia. They've done it for a long time. But the Elephant in the Room campaign that they ran in 2023 was one that kind of came to mind, because, yes, they're talking about climate change and there's people that fall on different sides of that, but really just showing the effect. Okay, this is what a place looked like many years ago, and this is what it looks like now as a result of the years gone by. And I think that's in a way that they're making people feel like we're doing this through purpose-driven storytelling and showcasing how we're committed to trying to save the environment, to try to preserve the planet, things like that. The one that really took me back a little bit was Airbnb. And I don't know if you saw the campaign at all, but it was the Made Possible by Hosts campaign, where they featured specific stories about hosts and guests and their stays that they had and how they were able to have reunions and get together with family and just really transform. And it was just very authentic. So that to me hits home. Obviously, people with families and whatnot that
Yeah.
get
Those,
together.
those are both great uses of stories because people buy those stories. Patagonia, people buy this story, right? Like they buy the idea of like we are helping, we're also getting this great product, but like it's more than that because
Yeah.
of a great story. And they're backing it up, right? But like even if they weren't, how many people would still be buying because they're buying the story?
Yeah. Exactly. That's what it's about, right? Again, people don't buy products, they buy feelings. So I think storytelling, to me, just a quick analogy for this, it's like hosting a dinner party. You have everything from the invitations, right? You want to make sure that's communicated effectively. You have your atmosphere to consider. So the ambience, the music, the lighting, making people feel like warm and welcome there. The conversation, you want the conversation to be good. You want people to be engaged with them, to feel welcome, to take in the conversation. And then the last thing is the takeaway. What was the experience that they had? So that's, I think, a way that through storytelling, you go through all these different phases. And then the takeaway is the emotion that your audience is left with as a result of taking in your campaign. So
Well said.
it's storytelling as a whole is something that I think we as a society, especially those in marketing and in sales, are doing on a larger, grander scale these days. But also there is so many more avenues to do your storytelling these days that it can be overwhelming at times.
I mean, I completely agree. Like that analogy is perfect. Storytelling is everywhere. It's really up to us to do a great job of it to make it easy and relatable and ultimately achieve what we're trying to achieve from a feelings and emotion standpoint with that story, evoking the right emotions, right?
100%. And I think just to sum it up, like storytelling, emotional marketing are all about connection. You want to be able to craft relatable stories, highlight your customer successes, tap into the emotions that resonate with your audience the most. And because as we know, marketing isn't just about selling, it's about building relationships. So, and stories are the bridge that makes all those connections possible. And I think that's ultimately why we're here, why we're talking about this, and what makes the most impact.
Absolutely.
So, all right, my friends, that is our episode for today. Please, as always, make sure to like and subscribe the podcast wherever and however you listen to your podcast. And if you have any questions you'd like us to talk about on the pod or want to get in touch with us, please visit madroitmarketing.com/podcast. Thanks, guys.